Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
Who is my supervisor when I was a PhD student in the University of Alberta. And I'm still trying to work on this problem. And this is the outline of today's talk, and I'm going to talk about life and death solver that performs that I implemented. And I'm working on games, and the reason why I'm working on games is that games are very good testbed for such algorithms. And games usually have simple rules and clear outcomes. The results are usually the outcome of the game is usually either a win, a draw, or a loss, while the rule is can be explained in a few sentences. However, games have a large search space. It is computationally intensive. And besides, it is necessary to have a real-time response. For example, if we have a program that plays a game against a human player in a tournament, it is necessary for playing programs to play a move in a couple of minutes. So while it is quite computationally intensive, it is also necessary to have a real-time response, which makes the research quite difficult. Also, games have a lot of applications, and including bioinformatics and serial improving systems. For example, the sequence alignment can be solved by using search, which is also used in solving puzzle games. Also, serial improving systems are considered to search under a tree, and which is also related to games. Finally, researchers can get a lot of stronger, clear motivation by developing algorithms that outperforms best humans in the field of intellectual games. And the majority of researchers was in the field of chess until IBM Deep Blue won against Garry Kasparov. And the research on chess was basically based on search-based. And after Deep Blue won against Kasparov, Go has been a very good target to try for researchers. There are two reasons why people are working on Go right now. And one is that Go has much larger space than chess, and the other is that it is quite difficult to have to evaluate positions for computers. For example, in chess, the material balance between two players is quite a good way to measure whether a position is good or not. However, in Go, we don't know how to create a good evaluation function for computers to play well. So it is good to work on research on Go. And does anyone know how to play Go here? So, okay, there are 3 people who do not know how to play Go. So let me explain the rules. And Go is quite a simple game for human players to play, while it is quite difficult to play well. And we have 2 players, black and white, and they play by turn. And each player places a stone on empty point, or he or she can pass. For example, black plays here, and then white plays here. And black plays here, and white plays here, and black plays here. This is a typical sequence of moves played by professional players. And all we have to do is to place on an empty point or path. However, we have one more rule. And a stone can be captured, more than one stone. And if all the adjacent points are taken by the opponent, this stone can be captured. This is an example. And if black places a stone here, that white stone can be captured, is captured. And the other rule is that we can't play a suicide move. In this case, wait a minute. Oh, this one. In this case, white cannot play here, because all the adjacent points are taken by black. However, in this case, white can play here because white can take all the empty points adjacent to black. And the result is decided by counting the territory. And the player with the larger territory wins. And in this case, white has territory here and black has a territory here, and they compare the number of points to determine the winner. And that is all, and we have to know to play the game. And one thing we have to know to understand life and death is two eyes. In this case, as I said, we can't play a suicide move. These black stones are guaranteed to be alive. The reason that is white cannot play here because that's a suicide, and white cannot not play here either because that's a suicide. So white cannot play these moves at that time, and that's why these are alive. And when we understand the life and death thing, this feature is important. I'm using this feature. And this is the only feature that I'm using as a knowledge part. And what's the relation between Tsume-Go and computer Go? And the current status of computer program is like the strength is reaching amateur down level players. For example, Crazy Stone, which is one of the best programs, is ranked 2Q at KGS by using Monte Carlo sampling plus tree-based search. And recently, actually, a lot of progress has been made by using Monte Carlo plus with tree search. However, I still believe that it is good to have a better scheme to detect life and death status of stones, because detecting such a kind of feature is quite an important feature for the game of Go. And in this sense, Tsume-Go is an ideal domain because that problem is a problem to check whether some stones are alive or not. And also, solving Tsume-Go is like an important component for computer Go programs, because stone programs must know life and death status of stones. And I believe that search is currently the only way to always correctly assess the life and death status. So that's why I'm working on search. I'm not sure in the future, but for the time being, I believe that search is the only way for the correct assessment. And let me explain the Tsume-Go problem in Go that I'm going to talk about. And we have two players. One is attacker. In this case, white is an attacker. And the other is the defender, black player in this example. And the attacker must capture all the crucial stones marked by triangles here, while defender must leave by making two eyes, or seki is like another way to leave. And currently, moves must be restricted to regions surrounded by the attacker's safe stone, like that. And of course, I want to work on the problem that is not surrounded by the attacker's stone, but in this talk, I'm going to concentrate on the enclosed case, because still it has several things to do to improve the strength of the solver, even if the places are enclosed. And in this case, black has several stones marked by triangles, and one of them must be alive. We have to make two eyes or make a thick shape. And because we can capture stones sometimes, the region is marked not only as a square, but also this place must be a region, because once white captures this stone, an empty point appears. And actually, we can solve Tsume-Go problem by using underwater research. And basically, we have two players: the first player and the second player. And what the first player must do is that to prove that at least one move leads to a win, which is called an OR node. On the other hand, the second player must verify all the moves leading to the losses, which is called an AND node. And we keep expanding the search tree until finding a solution to determine a win or loss. And this is an example of an underwater tree, and let me determine several terminology on this tree. Let me call this node. Oh, I see. I mean, there are three states. One is unknown, another is loss, and the other is win. And assume that this node we don't know whether we have a children or not. And the value is, because we have to know whether this is win or not, win or loss by expanding below this node. So, so right now we don't know whether we have children or not. Let me call this node a leaf node, and the value is unknown. And these are the terminal nodes, and we know that we don't have any children, and the value is determined to be either win or loss by using game-dependent knowledge. And these are the internal nodes, because it is already expanding, and it knows the number of children. And the starting position is called the root node. And in this case, we have to determine the value for each unknown node. And these values are determined by using these rules. For example, these values are determined like that, and here this value is unknown, because if the first player takes this path, he loses. But if this guy takes this path, we are not sure we might be able to win. So as a result, we mark this node as unknown, and this is a loss, because all he can take is to take this path, and this is a win. And this is an interesting position. If an OR node takes this path, this is a loss. While if this guy takes this path, this is a win. Because the OR player wants to take the best move. He takes this move. So the value at G becomes win. And it keeps doing this process. And here, because if the AND player takes this path, it is a loss for the first player or player. So, I mean, because the second player wants to take the best move, this value becomes a loss for the first player. And in this case, this is a win for the first player, because this leads to a win for the first player, as well as this move leads to a win for the first player. And we keep doing this, and here, this is a win for the one node. The reason that we have two choices, but the one node must want to take this path because this leads to a win. And the point is that it is not necessary to explore the whole search space to determine whether a win or loss. And we can reduce the search space by trying to explore the part where we need to explore. And assuming that we have a uniform branching factor of B with the search depth of D, usually the search space becomes like that. But in theory, we can reduce the search space to this number, which is quite small, which is much, much smaller than this one. So, for example, in this case, the proof tree, that is a tree that we have to explore to prove a win, is like this. And we don't have to explore any of these nodes to prove that A is a win for the first player. So, I mean, by trying to reduce the search space, we can achieve improvement for the undisputedly search method. However, yeah.
So the D over 2 comes back to the proof or all?
That's right. Right. That's right. Yes. However, one thing we have to be careful is that the trade-off between search speed versus search space reduction. Assuming that we achieved the improvement in terms of search space reduction, search space by a factor of 2, but if we assume that the search speed is degrades by a factor of 4, in this case, our algorithm is 2 times slower than the previous version, and so what we want to do is that while keeping the search speed as fast as possible, we want to reduce the search space in order to speed up the solver. And usually there are 2 ways to improve the search efficiency. One is to try to invent game-independent techniques, which are usually applicable to under search in general. And the other thing is that to add a lot of game-dependent techniques, which is applicable to that game only. Usually, high-performance Tsume-Go solvers use both techniques, and we have to add both techniques in order to enhance the solver. And I'll show you 2 examples of enhancements. And one is called Transposition Table. And in practice, the search space of many games is not a tree but a DAG. So we can use this property. And we prepare a transposition table which maps from a position to its corresponding to transposition table entry as a hash table. And we ignore the history that it takes. And assume that a search algorithm explores the space like that, and it proves a win at D. In this case, we save this information in the transposition table to cache and try to search. And if a search algorithm explorer takes this path and reaches D, in this case, instead of searching below this node, we can just look up the table. And previously, the search algorithm said that, proved that D is a win. We can just retrieve that information from the transposition table. And we don't have to search this below that node anymore. And like that, we can improve the performance. Another way is to order moves by using evaluation functions. And we map position to a value to see whether a position is good or not. And before searching below a node, we evaluate all children by using evaluation function and order them from the best to worst. And usually evaluation functions are written by hand. For example, by using, of course, machine learning is used, but usually evaluation functions are based on game-dependent knowledge. For example, if stones are captured, we add a bonus of 10, or if 2 stones are connected, we add a bonus of 5, or things like that. And we evaluate them and sort in a decreasing manner. And because this node looks the most promising node, and we search from this node. And this is another way to enhance the solver. Not really. Every node. Yeah.
Then best and worst change.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. So if we have an evaluation function. And what happened to the previous work on Tsume-Go solvers is that GoTools has been the best Tsume-Go solver for the last 15 years. And what GoTools does is basically to add a lot of powerful rules to detect life and death status. And also, it contains a lot of Go knowledge written by hand for many years. As a result, GoTools remains as the best Tsume-Go solver for the last 15 years. But the downside, I would say, is that it uses a classical alphabet search with a transposition table, which is quite simple. And the limitation of GoTools is that the solving ability is limited to the problems with about 14 empty points. And of course, we want more. And I see. In this approach, I would say that it contains a lot of game-dependent knowledge with simple game-independent techniques. And because we want more, and actually in computer shogi, Japanese chess society, many people worked on android research methods by using Tsume shogi, which is like mating problem in chess. And in Tsume shogi solvers, people have powerful search algorithm based on proof and disproof numbers with the transposition table, which is called depth first proof number search. And it has shogi knowledge in the solver, but it is much simpler than Go. And the performance of Tsume shogi solver is quite good. It is far superior than the best human players. And the best Tsume shogi solver can solve all the problems with over 100 moves to make. And in this case, I would say that in this approach, I would say that it has a simple game-dependent knowledge with a powerful game independent search techniques. And in my approach, I use this approach. I invented a new search method, which is based on the depth-first proof number search. And I had to cure 2 problems related to repetitions. And I applied this search technique to the game of Go, Tsume-Go Problem. And the result is very good. And my solver outperformed GoTools, which has been the best solver for the last 15 years. And because I have only 30 minutes, so I would try to talk about these techniques found by Squared. And this is the overview of TsumeGo Explorer, which is my program. And there are 2 parts. One is search engine, and the other game-specific parts. And first, I'm going to talk about the search engine, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the Go-specific knowledge. And my DFPN algorithm is based on Nagai depth-first proof number search algorithm. And what DFPN does is that it uses the notion of proof and disproof numbers. And I'm going to give you an example in the exercise, but the definition of proof number is that it is the minimal number of leaf nodes to prove a win, while the disproof number is the minimal number of leaf nodes that in order to prove a loss for the first player. And based on proof and disproof numbers, originally Allis's proof method was best first search, but Nagai's method uses the depth first search by using a threshold for the proof number and disproof number. And also DFPN uses transposition table because actually this method expands interior nodes again and again, and it is necessary to cache proof and disproof numbers of expanded nodes in order to reduce the re-expansions of interior nodes. And let me explain proof and disproof numbers. I mean, what proof number does is that it tries to find the minimum amount of work that is necessary for the first player to prove a win for the first player. And this is an example of the proof number. And each number indicates the proof number for each node. And for example, here, if we want to prove that this node is a win for the first player, we have to make sure that this node must be a win for the first player, as well as this node is a win for the first player. As a result, this guy must explore at least 2 nodes. So that is why the proof number at this node is 2, 1 plus 1. Similarly, here, in order to make sure that this node is a win for the first player, we have to make sure this is a win, and this is a win, and this is a win. So the second player must at least explore 3 nodes. That is why the proof number at this node is 3. Here, what happens is that the first player can make sure either this node is a win or this node is a win. Of course, we want to have a small amount of work to prove a win. It looks better to take this path because the best scenario is that to explore 2 nodes to prove a win, while in this case the best scenario is to explore 3 nodes to prove a win. As a result, the proof number at this node becomes 2, and from the viewpoint of the first player, it is better to take this path. Right. We keep generating the children, and then it becomes more beneficial because we can look at the shape and yeah, that is another way.
What I mean is that it would be better to take the left path because then you have to,
right.
which is fine if you knew that the other tree was going to be big.
You're right. Right, but
Until you've explored it, and
I
it's
see.
too late.
Right. That happens, of course, but in general, this is better. So in many cases, the node with the smaller number tend to be easy to prove.
But how do you know it has a smaller number? First question. In the search, when you evaluate from bottom,
Right.
once you come all the way down, yeah, it's too late. It's too late. You don't need to.
Oh, I see. I mean, this happens gradually.
These numbers in advance, well, that would be great.
This happens gradually. Maybe I will explain that one in the next slide. Yeah. So, I mean, this proof number is a dual notion of the proof number. So I said that the proof number is the number to prove a win for the the minimum number of leaf nodes to prove a win for the first player. On the other hand, the disproof number is the minimum number of leaf nodes to prove that is a loss for the first player. So that is why this is the same picture except for the nodes. So from the viewpoint of the second player, this looks easier than this one. So that's why the second player takes this path in order to try to prove that is a loss for the first player. And now we have a strategy. The first player tries to take the path with the smallest. The first player tries to explore a child with the smallest proof number, while the second player tries to explore a child with the smallest disproof number. And by using this technique, we can get to a leaf node, and we explore one level, and then we can recompute the proof number. And that is actually done by Victor Allis, which is Victor Allis's proof number search. But the depth first proof number search does a little bit different way. And I hope I can answer to your question by showing this example. Here, what DFPN does is that we introduce two thresholds. One is for the proof number, and the other is for the disproof number. Here, what it means that if we do not exceed these thresholds, we keep searching below that node. However, if one of them is the DFPN exceeds one of these thresholds, it stops searching and goes back to the parent. Here, because we haven't exceeded the threshold, we try to create two children, and we compute proof numbers and disproof numbers. Because this is a leaf node, and we are not sure how much work we should do, so we assign proof and disproof number to 1 for B and C. And here, right,
According to the definition we gave before.
minimum number. So yeah. Yeah, so, right, so, I mean, and because we don't know yet, so the best case is 1, right? If we explore 1, and we can prove, that is the best scenario. But because we don't know yet, so we just assign 1 and 1. And here, the disproof number at A is 2, because the one node must prove this guy is a loss for the WAP player, and this guy is a loss for the WAP player. Here, what DFPN does is that it tries to adjust the threshold. And because these are tie scores, we can choose either way we want. And here, assume that we choose this one, and we set a new threshold. And in this case, the threshold is 2. The reason is that because the one node try to take the select the node with the smallest proof number, which means that if this the proof number at B becomes 2, this is not the best node anymore. So we can move this way. So the condition where the first player must select this node is 2, and so that's why the threshold is set to 2. Here, we try to we try to recompute the proof numbers and disproof numbers, and I see. I assume that the proof number at this node becomes 2, because this is 1. We can choose this path. So as long as the proof number at this node is 1, we can keep searching, right? But if this becomes 2, we have to go this way. So this is the tag when we move to this path.
So are you basically trying to simulate
that is correct. Yes, yes. And here we have 3 nodes. And we initialize proof and disproof numbers at leaf nodes 1. And we recompute proof numbers at T. And this is 3 because it has 3 nodes to prove a win. Then now, the proof number at D is larger than the threshold. So this means that this is not the best path anymore. We have to move the other way. So here it tries to recompute the proof and disproof numbers, and then it goes to this path. The threshold at C is 4 because this number is 3, and if this guy becomes the proof number at C is 4, we have to move this way again. So we add a tag that is like that, and we keep going. Here, there are 2 nodes, and we recompute the proof number by using these nodes. And we haven't, here we haven't exceeded the threshold yet. So we can keep going. And in this case, there are 2 nodes, and the disproof numbers are tied. So we can choose whichever we want, and assume that we choose this one. And we need to reset the threshold. And here, because both are 1, and this must be 2, because if the disproof number at this node is 2, we have to go this path. Also, we have to change the threshold here. The reason that here the threshold of the proof number is 4. And here, if the total, and here we add the proof number of G plus here, G plus H. And this means that if the proof number at G becomes 3, the total number of proof number is 4, which is this one. So, in this scenario, if the proof number becomes larger than 4, we have to go this path. So that's why we need to adjust not only this node, but also this node. Not only this threshold, but also this threshold. Here, again, we keep going, and we recompute the proof and disproof numbers. And the disproof number becomes 2, and we compare this against the threshold of disproof number. Now the disproof number, the disproof number at G exceeds the threshold. So we have to recompute the proof number, and we have to come back here. And then the proof number at C remains as it is because the total number of proof numbers is 2, and while the minimum disproof number is 1. Here, we take this path by resetting the threshold, and it keeps going like that until the root node is solved. Right.
But it explores a bit more deeply after the trees.
That's right. Right.
Is that just another way of, could I just done that correctly?
Right. I think so. Yep. So
is it much better than breakfast?
yes.
Why is it much better?
Because the best first search always must come back to the root node after expanding this one, this guy, and it backs up the proof number and this proof number here, and it goes another direction here, and so basically this approach can reduce the number of expansions at interior nodes, because we don't always have to go back to the root. Here, I mean, as long as we don't exceed the threshold, we keep going. We can keep going and searching deeper. So that is a good thing for DFPN compared with the previous approach. Okay, can I go to the next? Okay, let me explain what I did. So.
Is it fair to say that proof numbers are higher than proof tree?
Uh-huh.
It's got to be a tree with very few numbers.
Uh-huh. What will it?
Proof tree.
Uh-huh.
Proof tree from the defender always branches whenever
Mhm.
the defender is connected.
Mhm.
You have to have
Mhm.
a root where it's unconnected.
Uh-huh.
So is the assumption that the actual proof
Mhm.
that we want to find is going to be in its whole proof tree?
Yeah.
That's the assumption that underlies proof numbers.
I think so. And that is usually correct in practice. Yeah. Yep. Experimentally, it's correct. And okay. So unfortunately, this is not the end of the story. And the reason is that in practice, the search space is not a DAG, but a directed cyclic graph. And Tsume-Go problems contain repetitions. And the rule is determined based on repetitions. And in Tsume-Go, the move leading to the previous position is illegal. We may not make that move. And the bad news is that the transposition table doesn't take into account the history. So this means that the transposition table may contain incorrect results. And this problem is called the graph history interaction problem, and it has been an open problem for the last 20 years. And I can show you the example of the GHA problem. And here, the question is that whether D is a win or loss. And here, if we take this path, A, B, D, this move leads back to the previous state, which means a loss for the second player, which means a win for the first player. As a result, this is a win for the first player. That's right. Yep. Here, on the other hand, if we take this path, what happens is that here we haven't gone back to the previous state, and here at B, if the OR player plays this move, this is a cycle. So this guy cannot make this move. Oh, I see. I'm going to omit that one. I'm dealing with code, but in this slide, let me exclude that thing. And here, this is a loss for the first player. So this is a win and this is a loss. So after all, what I will say is that the result at D is dependent on the path that the search algorithm takes. And but the transposition table stores only one value, which is not correct, by ignoring the history. So we have, in order to guarantee the correctness of the solver, we have to solve this problem. And I worked on the solution to the graph history interaction problem. And actually, the solution is very simple. Usually, the transposition table contains the encoded position. And I added not only the position information, but also the path information that is encoded to each transposition table entry. And basically, we can reuse the proof and disproof numbers if a node is not proven yet. Because in this case, proof and disproof numbers are just heuristic. So we can use as we like. It is not related to that. It doesn't have the correctness. However, if we prove a win or loss, we have to save that result in the transposition table. And we have two scenarios. If repetitions are involved in the proof tree, that is related to that position is dependent on the path. The result is dependent on the path. So instead of storing that win or loss into the transposition table, we add one more tag. And we say that this is a win if we take this path and this information is saved in the transposition table like that. However, if we are free from the repetitions, we can say that this position is a win without any condition. So in this, yep.
Do you actually need to store the whole path or just?
Oh, I see. We encoded path into 64 bits. And actually, when encoding a position, we have a method that is quite small, that contains quite a small error, and which is accepted by games programmers. And I'm using the same technique to encode the path, so which must be accepted by the games programmers. So in practice, it might contain a small error, but I believe that the error rate is much smaller than hardware error. Right.
Store a board position.
Right.
So you store a path.
So I'm using the Zobus stuff for encoding path. I mean, I prepare a table that is a move and depth.
Move and depth.
Yeah.
You have new random numbers that you.
That's right. Yeah. Yes.
My question is, you don't need to store the whole path, right?
Right. I haven't come up with a good idea to encode that. So that is the only reason. So yeah, you are right. And let me give you an example. And in this case, what happens is that we save D by way of this path as a win. And here, we save a loss for D if we take this path. And when looking up the table, we not only check the position, but also check the path. So by checking both, we can guarantee the correctness. So we can prove that this method is free from the GHI problem, theoretically. And but again, this is not the end of the story. DFPN still suffers from some problems related to loops. And what I found is that DFPN sometimes, not sometimes, often expand no new leaf node, and because of computing proof and disproof numbers due to with repetitions. Here, what DFPN does, actually this in this example, DFPN loops forever and it doesn't expand at all after constructing this search tree. And what happens is that if DFPN takes this path and try to recompute the proof and disproof numbers here, we have to add these numbers up. Here, the threshold is the disproof number at all exceeds this threshold, and it backs up the proof and disproof numbers here, and then it takes this path. What happens is that here, in order to compute the disproof number, it needs this information, and then it compares against the threshold, and it exceeds the threshold. And DFPN goes back to this path all the way in order to recompute the proof and disproof numbers. Again, this guy comes here. And here, the same thing happens. To compute the proof and disproof numbers and check the threshold, and it exceeds the threshold. And again, it comes here and it exceeds the threshold, and it continues this. This phenomenon, and it doesn't expand new node like here anymore. The reason is that when computing the disproof number of this node, we need this information. And also, when computing the disproof number here, this is related to this disproof number. But, I mean, we have a loop here. However, DFPN does not know that loop because this loop happens quite implicitly. Here we don't know the loop, and here we don't know the loop. As a result, disproof numbers are overcounted at O and I. And I had to fix this problem in order to make DFPN work. And what I did is that quite simple. I just keep the distance from the root node to that node. And I classified node into two categories. One is called normal node, which is quite normal because if we search deeper, the minimal distance must be larger. So the normal child is a normal child. On the other hand, if the minimal distance becomes smaller, in this case, we might be looping back to the previous state. So what I'm doing is that basically, as long as we have unproven normal children, we just ignore the disproof number or proof number of these nodes. But if we have only this one, which has to consider something, and in this case, we take the maximum to guarantee the correctness. And this is an example, and MD is minimal distance, and because this is a root node, the minimal distance is there, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the interesting thing is here. We have two ways to reach here. And one is take this path, the other is to take this path. The minimal distance is 4 because this is shorter. And also this is 5. And when computing the disproof number at this node, if this we can explore this node, we just ignore this disproof number because it might be bad for DFPN to overcome the disproof number. And so, however, if we prove this one, the only way to explore, the only way for DFPN to explore is to take this path. So we have to consider something. So that is why I defined the disproof number of at O is DNI if this guy is solved. And with two techniques, finally DFPN worked quite well. And this is a game independent part of the TsumeGo Explorer, and I'm going to talk a little bit about game-specific engines, plugins. Do I have to care about the time? Oh, so we have basic components in the TsumeGo Explorer, and the basic thing is that basically I'm generating all the moves, and also pass is a good legal move for the game of Go. I'm including this move, except for some conditions where, and except for some cases where I can prove another move safely. And the terminal node direction is quite simple. If we have two eyes, that's a win for the defender. If we have, if we have no eye space to make two eyes for the defender, that is a win for the attacker. And I added a small number of Go dependent enhancements. That one is using the Imai connections presented by Martin Mueller to detect the data storms earlier. In this case, we can say that this is a dead for the defender. The reason that this is a safe stone, these are safe stones, and we have two ways to connect to these stones, and this, which means that this can promote to safe stones. Also, we have two ways to connect to safe stones, here or here. So this can be a safe, also be a safe stone. As a result, this guy doesn't have any eye space to make another eye. So we can say that this is a dead for the defender. And here we have a forced move. And usually we have to make all the moves here, 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 and the pass 4 moves. But in this case, if the attacker plays here, this guy doesn't have any eye space. So the only way for the defender wins is to capture this stone to try to make another eye. So as a result, all we have to do is to make a move here. And like that, we can reduce the number of nodes generated from 4 to 1. And these are the other techniques that I'm using, and probably I should skip that. And I'm dealing with core and core threads. And I compared the performance of my TsumeGo solver against GoTools. And I used the Astro machine and each problem must be solved within 5 minutes. And I used 2 kinds of test suites. Yep. And these are the examples of the test positions. One is quite hard, and the other is from the Thomas Wolf collection, which is also hard. And okay, let me give you the first test, the result of the first test, which is from Thomas Wolf's test collection. And both programs solved all the problems, but TsumeGo Explorer was faster. And this is the plot for each problem. And this is the execution time for TsumeGo Explorer, while this is the execution time for GoTools. And this is for each problem. And if a plot is above this line, TsumeGo Explorer solves more quickly. So, I mean, basically we have more plot over this line, which is good for TsumeGo Explorer. And also in the one-line problem, TsumeGo Explorer dominated GoTools by a large margin. And here, this is the plot, and for the problem solved by both versions. And actually, in this test, TsumeGo Explorer outperforms GoTools quite a large margin, especially for hard problems. For example, this problem, in order to solve this, in order that GoTools can solve this problem, GoTools needed like 2 minutes, while TsumeGo Explorer needed only 1 second, and the difference was quite large. And I have 2 lessons learned. Here, if I can say that knowledge is very important. For example, if GoTools often solve problems quite quickly. For example, in this problem, GoTools doesn't need any search. It solves statically, while TsumeGo Explorer needed about 3,000 nodes. However, we need to have a better search method if we have harder problems. For example, in this problem, GoTools couldn't solve it within 5 minutes, while TsumeGo Explorer quickly solved this problem. So, I mean, I can say that, I'm not saying that knowledge is useless, but knowledge is quite important to improve the search. And also improving the search method is important in order to have a strong TsumeGo solver. And let me conclude the talk. In summary, I have modified DFPN, and I applied this method to the game of Go. And I achieved currently the best TsumeGo solver. And there are a lot of things to do, and one is to try to solve harder problems. The limitation is that the limitation of TsumeGo Explorer is currently the problems with 22 and 27 empty points. And I want to get more. And I think I need more knowledge, or I think probably I need to have both things to go up the performance. And another important thing is that to try to solve the open boundary problem, because the current limitation of the TsumeGo Explorer program is limited to the enclosed boundary problems. And of course, it is important to think about a way to integrate this solver with a real game playing program. And that is all I have to say. Sorry for exceeding the time. Thank you very much.